Chapter 4, Tutorial 3. In that case, there is something that I need to solve first. There was a hidden piece. If it did indeed exist, then it would be something that an evil god would have hidden, something that overpowered and theoretically unobtainable in the beginning. From what he had heard, the difficulty of the final dungeon located in the tutorial area was too high for a beginner to clear. The survivors of mankind were all geniuses, but no one had reached the end of the final dungeon. In order to finish, Hansu would have to collect many pieces. These hidden pieces were hidden around the tutorial area. To clear the final dungeon, he must monopolize every remaining hidden piece and become stronger. Let's see. The first hidden piece was said to be located in the nearest train station. The tutorial was split into 2 stages. The first stage was one in which the first 100 people acted together. For 1 week, the 100 people would stay in the designated area, and then for 3 months after that, the second stage commenced in which they would hunt in another designated area. When those 2 stages were over, the protective area would be opened, and they would be able to meet with the people from previous years. To his knowledge, there were 2 hidden pieces in the first stage of the tutorial. After 1 week, those 2 hidden pieces would disappear. He needed to find them before the week was over. Hansu got up and dusted himself off. I'm heading to Gangnam Station. The location of the first hidden piece was Gangnam Station. By the time Hansu started heading over there, a chaotic situation had already arisen. I knew this would happen. Hansu clicked his tongue as he heard the screams from multiple directions. Why are you doing this? Ugh. We will go separately. Go where? We need to group in order to survive. In the location where the battle ended, everyone was making an uproar. Their opinions probably differed. There were a lot of small fights here and there between the people who wanted to act by themselves and those who wanted to group up. Normally, if their desires were that different, it would be normal to separate. There would only be problems if you held on to somebody with a drastically different opinion. However, if one side overwhelmingly didn't want the other side to go for some reason, a problem occurred. Since there were over 100 people, there were obviously people who were more beautiful than normal. For the same reason, there were also a few who got used to the new world more quickly. Ah, seriously? Suddenly, a group of 3 males and 4 females dashed out and ran towards Hansu's location. Hey, where are you going? With their levels of beauty, there will definitely be problems. Maybe it was because they were at Gangnam Station and were brought here, but their appearances were above average. One was seriously a league above everyone else. Suddenly, one woman looked behind them and shouted, "We will act separately. We are going to work with this person here." As Hansu heard the frantic calls, he frowned. Hey! Hansu! Why are you pretending to not know us? We're acquaintances. Oh, right. Hansu nodded then, as if he just remembered. Because everyone had died right off at the start, he hadn't remembered his college acquaintances. There was no way he could remember them after 50 years. He had forgotten already, but after this situation occurred, he started to remember them bit by bit. Oh yeah, we came with 4 guys and 4 girls to get closer to each other. From the other side, a 30-something looking man ran towards them while breathing excessively and was startled after he saw Hansu. That guy is... The man remembered. Hansu was the guy who advanced quickly as he crazily slashed apart the goblin-looking beasts. He was so good at fighting that while the others were struggling with 2 to 3 of them, he alone killed dozens of them. Does he do some sort of sport? The middle-aged guy, Saeng, kept contemplating. He understood that Hansu was strong. And he looks hurt too. But, as the fairy had told them before, no one was at an extremely high level yet. As Hansu saw the squirming Saeng, Hansu clicked his tongue. This is why it's problematic. Normally, the people wouldn't even think of fighting. The hype of the battle had not yet disappeared. Their first injuries, their first encounters with violence, and the results gave them confidence, which could clearly be seen in their excited expressions. The others were the same. It would be hard to use reason. There was really no reason to start fighting with each other right now. The time in which Hansu would become angry enough to fight was long gone. There was no reason to meet this man or stay here any longer. Hansu turned and started walking away from Taesung, who was starting at him. As Hansu started to walk off, Taesung watched him bewilderingly. This bitch, leaving a person in front of him. Hey! Where are you going? Then, Hansu suddenly got curious and turned around to confront him. What would this person say to him? Is there something you want to say? Do I set my age as 76 or 201? He wondered if he should be formal or informal, but then decided to go with the easier route. Due to Hansu's words, Taesung looked shocked. What? This young bitch? Yeah. What do I say? Hansu's previous crazy fighting prowess scared Taesung, who did not want to make an excessive demand, but he would be filled with regret if he simply let Hansu and the young people behind him walk away. While Taesung was shocked, the man who was standing behind him spoke impatiently. We really aren't bad people either. My name is Giltai. Let's act together. It seems like you eight are young, so wouldn't it be better to work together? It seems that there will be a lot of times where strength is needed from now on. Then, people who agreed with his words gathered behind him. No, it's not that they agree. From the atmosphere, it seemed that they knew each other. Hansu stared at the man who had talked to him, as he seemed like the leader. His eyes. There were a lot of people like this. Those who got used to things way too quickly. No, it would be more fitting to say that they were restricted in the world they had used to live in. And now, since those restrictions were gone, they were like fish swimming in water. Hansu thought for a moment, choosing between the dying wishes of S and Chaldean, and then made a decision. S, you are saving a lot of people right now. I will let them go, once. Honestly, pulling out the roots that hadn't done anything yet was not in his character. Even then, his stats were still pretty average. He needed to get out, but if he killed everyone here and left, the time for hidden pieces would be rather limited. Hansu replied abruptly. Dismissed. Having a lot of people wasn't bad, since it made hunting much easier. However, people who were like vultures, trying to gobble up everything they can, were bound to make trouble. Hansu, who had finished talking, searched around the goblin corpses and bound 2 more padaws to his waist, and then started to walk away. The remaining friends looked at each other and then followed behind him. This son of a bitch! Taesung, who had been watching Hansu, gritted his teeth and stepped forward, but Giltai blocked his path. As Taesung watched his elder brother Giltai's actions with a weird look, Giltai opened his mouth. This isn't the time to be fighting with them. They can be dealt with after everything is organized. We must first get this place in order. Giltai looked around at the 70 or so people remaining. The current situation was already chaotic. A strange place with strange beasts. And that damnable fairy, too. Since it was already chaotic, keeping those who would create trouble would only make it hard on him to control them. First, set the atmosphere here. From one point of view, this chaotic period was a chance. Giltai stared intensely at the location where the group had disappeared for a while, and then stomped his way into the crowd. Taesoon, one of the group of friends, stared at Hansu, who was walking in front of him raggedly, with a complicated look. I'm not sure if this was the right move. But Taesoon shook his head. If they stayed in there, a real division would have occurred. Humans were scarier than goblins. Besides, being next to Hansu made him feel safer. Logically, it didn't make sense that being next to one person felt safer than being next to 70, but that's how it was. Anyways, Taesoon knew that this guy was peculiar. Starting all the way back from orientation at the college, Hansu had been in a corner, dazed. As if he was thinking of something else. He had also said that he was an orphan. And from that, Hansu seemed like a weak target. The reason why Taesoon had brought him today was because if there was somebody lesser than him around, Taesoon would stand out more. TSK. But Tai-soon didn't realize that Hansu was like that. As Tai-soon remembered Hansu fighting manically in the front, he watched Mihi, the beauty of the group, with a face full of regret, as she was staring at Hansu. He then cleared his throat and spoke. "Hey, Hansu! Do you really not remember us?" At those words, Hansu looked at Tai-soon, and then spoke. "I think I got amnesia when we got here. I don't really remember much." "Hey, why do you talk like an old man? Does it show that much?" Mihi smiled softly at those words. Hansu stared at her. The other three girls weren't bad, but she had a beauty that stood out. At that level, living life was pretty easy. But in the other world, beauty was a double-edged sword. If you had the confidence to use it well, it became a weapon, but if you aren't strong enough, then you would invite all sorts of crooks. Well, she'll figure it out by herself. Hansu ceased his thoughts and kept moving. Mihi stared at Hansu and spoke cautiously. "Where are you going right now?" Hansu had been walking with a purpose from the beginning, as if he knew exactly where he wanted to go. Hansu gave a short reply. "Inside Gangnam train station." "Why there?" Hansu pondered for a moment. "If I travel alone, I don't need to explain all these things, but this is rather annoying." However, since he decided to keep S words in mind as much as possible, he gave a curt reply. "I'm getting a feeling." "A feeling?" "Yeah. It seems that with the amnesia, I seem to have gained psychic powers. I'm getting a feeling that I must go to the train station." It was too annoying to explain every single thing, and they would probably believe him if he said that he gained psychic powers. Well, even fairies exist, so if I say that I have psychic powers, they will somewhat understand. Technically, he didn't really lie either. If one was extremely lucky, they could get a rune with something called the sixth sense. Hansu, who had organized things simply, continued to walk forward while the others looked at him weirdly. His actions had been weird from the beginning, but psychic powers? "Is it okay for us to follow that guy?" Jisuan, one of the girls standing behind Mihi, softly whispered to her boyfriend, Gangtai. This couldn't escape Hansu's enhanced hearing. Hansu smirked as he spoke. "You really don't have to follow me. I'm the type that respects personal preferences." Hansu, who headed forward without hesitation, went down the steps to the 12th exit that came into view. The group made bitter expressions before following after Hansu. Honestly, the things humans could do to them were much more terrifying than whatever a beast would do, and what the fairies were capable of was even more terrifying. It'd be nice if he really had psychic powers. Tai-soon, who was mumbling inwardly, went down to the train station and then spoke to Hansu. "Ah, are you preparing a place to live?" Hansu nodded at those words. Suddenly, Hansu slashed his pedal downwards. "Quark. Unfortunately, there are some friends already living down here."